Hello, and welcome to Screen Star Events online event. I hope there's lots of people tuning in to watch and listen today. For me, it's Sunday morning or Sunday afternoon, so I jumped out of bed this morning, had a coffee, threw on a t-shirt, which I was going to change, until I glanced in the mirror and thought it's very appropriate because I'm being a big old geek this morning. But today it's more freak than geek. So without further ado, please welcome to the screen the lovely Pamela Rabe. Well,
Oh, hello. Oh, hello.
hello.
Hello. Hello, world.
Hello there.
Sunday. Hi. Hi, John. How are you?
I'm very good. I'm very good. Actually, got up, potted around, done some odd jobs around the place. Forgot to feed the dog, which I've just remembered, but she'll survive for another half an hour. But other than that, so you're currently sat in Sydney,
Yes,
I
I'm in
gather.
Sydney, Australia at the moment.
Beautiful city.
Working, yeah.
And what are you working on at the moment?
I'm mid-rehearsal for a production for the Sydney Theatre Company of Samuel Beckett's Happy Days, which is a monumental piece of something. I play Winnie, and the play is basically Winnie's up to her waist in a mound of earth, and trapped there for most of the show. A few things happen later on, but I share the mound with my husband Willie, who I really can't see because he's behind me, but I so want to see him.
There you are. How long are you in rehearsals for before you go into production?
Where am I now? We started first week of April, and we go into the theatre the first week of May.
You must still enjoy the process of traveling around here, being a jobbing actor, having to travel to different cities all the time. Does that still appeal?
I like it less and less, but I like the work, and my bank manager likes the work because I have to pay the mortgage. I mean, almost nothing can top the last year and a half where I was on tour with Alexander Zeldin's The Confessions, that took me all around festivals of Europe and cities I've never been in. It's almost like nothing will compare to that now. I love Sydney. Sydney's a beautiful city.
Yeah.
And I love Melbourne, where I'll be working later in the year. I've just come back from Perth. I was in the Perth Festival with August Osage County, which I think certainly some of those Wentworth peeps came out and made the long trip to come and see the show, which I really appreciated. Yeah, it's nice. It's nice to be working. Always nice to be working.
Well, seeing the Wentworth fans, of course, and one of the main reasons we're chatting today is you'll be coming over to the UK again later in the year in August to visit the Screen Star family. Is it going to be a whistle-stop visit, or are you planning an extended stay? Because I know often you then travel on elsewhere afterwards.
I think this time I'm squeezing it in between a couple of jobs, but I'm taking the opportunity. I haven't been back to my birth country, Canada, for a very long time, not since my mother passed away 13 years ago. And I have many siblings and old friends, a lot of very angry Canadians at the moment, I have to say, who feel like they need a little bit of support and tender loving care. So I might take an opportunity to kind of pass through Canada on the way to visit you all in London and Birmingham.
So, if there's anyone watching now who maybe hasn't been to Screen Star events live before, what will they expect? What can they hope to see? Well, yourself, obviously.
Well, I would hope. Yes, I hope I'm there, and and I hope you're there, and I hope Barry is there, and I hope Beslin and Amanda and the whole kind of Screen Star team. I don't know. Funnily enough, we had we had I thought we had our farewell tour last year when Kate Atkinson and I came, and it was such a fun day, both in Birmingham and London. This is, I'm flying solo this time. And
Yeah.
I mean, you have to tell me, this is a little bit of icing on the cake because I wasn't sure that I'd see people again over that side of the pond for a while. But Barry asked, and there seem to be some people who still want to kind of come and spend, share an afternoon together. We have a lot of fun, I think.
And absolutely, and the
What do you think,
conversations
John? Yeah.
the conversation's always different. We go off at all sorts of different tangents. Obviously, there's a lot of Wentworth fans in the room, so Wentworth is discussed and covered. But we talk about all sorts of different aspects of your career and life.
Yeah,
It's
and I
really
love the
important.
fact that they're quite intimate. They're quite small. I see familiar faces, and it's great to welcome new faces. People who've kind of both found Wentworth recently, although I gather it's dropping off a lot of streaming platforms. So I think we're getting down to the creme de la creme now of Wentworth fans. But I love also that whether it was through the show or people pursuing the nose on things that interest them, I'm finding that there's a lot of people who are, have started coming to see shows or see theatre, and we have it just expands the whole kind of conversation that we can have together, and it is like old friends meeting and having a great little reunion together, as well as
Funny
giving
enough,
fans an opportunity to kind of come from all different places and see each other again as well, and have a kind of party and celebrate this thing that's brought them together.
it's you're just saying about attracting new fans as well, still coming to the show through various platforms. And a girl in her early 20s I work with has just discovered Wentworth, not through me actually, and she suddenly started talking about it, and she's been binge watching, and she got to the end of season 4, and by now obviously she knows that I do these events. She went, "Oh, I've just seen the scene where B gets stabbed, so I'm going to watch tomorrow. She'll be fine. I know she'll be fine." Well, I'm like, absolutely. The number of times I'm like, yeah, I'm not going to say anything.
Buckle up, no.
Oh, something she said to me as well. I was like, "How are you coping with the level of violence?" And she went, "Oh, I'm fine. I just don't like anything to do with the mouth, though." I'm thinking, oh, crikey, wait till you get to the Juicy Lucy moment. She's going to be traumatized.
I'm also meeting, I have to say, people who they look to be, 16, 17 years old, who are big fans of the show, that were watching it when it was first on. I think, where are their parents?
Yeah.
They must have been, 8 or 9 when they started watching.
So, we last saw you in the UK 18 months ago. What have you been up to since? I know there's been a second series of The Bay of Fires.
That's right. We shot season 2, which I think is going to air probably around June this year.
Okay.
Oh, yes, look at them. Oh, Heather and Magda. Gosh, that was a lot of fun. It continues to be a lot of fun. And I think the second season is even better than the first. I actually thought it had a slightly kind of wobbly start, as I say. It took a little while to kind of find its tone, and I think now it's really hitting its stride. We had a great director, Jonathan Bro, who did a lot of Rosehaven, which is another series that was set in Tasmania, who I worked with on that for one episode, and Jonathan came on and did the first 4 of season 2, and he's just taken it to a whole another level. That's great. What else have I been doing? I did a production in Sydney at Belware Street Theatre, as I said, at August Osage County, which then went to the Perth Festival. I've been doing some development workshops for a production in Melbourne later in the year of Daphne du Maurier's Rebecca. I've been having lots of meetings and things with my gorgeous friend Kate Atkinson, because we're still working on developing a television project.
Yeah, you mentioned that on stage when you were here with Kate. So, how are things progressing there? Can you give us a hint of?
Like anything, very, very slowly. you get all your ducks in a row. You get it's a fabulous idea, and it's a fabulous a couple of scripts we've written and stuff, but you send it to people, and then you wait, it sits with them, and then they come back and say, "We're really excited about this," and you want, and then you don't hear from them, and then it all kind of goes on back burner again. It's a slow process. I think somebody said it either happens in 7 weeks or 7 years. I think, well, I just hope I don't die. It's so slow. But I just keep doing theatre because that's they're the ones who I thank goodness I've got those opportunities to kind of keep my hand in. So and the roles that I've been offered in the last little while, it's so fabulous to do.
It's funny you talk about the time it takes to develop a series, and we can talk about this as it is out there in the public sphere. Of course, the long talked about sequel or continuation of Wentworth is bubbling along again, apparently. I know
Is that right?
that
What's
Katrina's
your
mentioned
intel?
that there are scripts in development for a spin-off,
That's
Boomer's
great.
Baby, or whatever it's going to be called.
That's great if that's so. I haven't heard much about that for a while. I know a lot of people were very excited about it, primarily Brian Walsh, who was the head of that department at Foxtel, who were the original producers. And Brian was a big supporter of that. And then Brian died suddenly. Um, uh, and I think that kind of had an impact on things. But I'm really thrilled to hear it, that if it's been,
Yeah,
come
it's
back into
exciting.
development.
It, uh,
It's
as
a
we
great
all know
idea.
from television franchises and sequels, it's a tricky one to navigate to get the right focus. But it's really exciting. Gives a franchise a whole new direction.
Absolutely. And because, I mean, we always used to say that the prison was the main character of Wentworth, and it meant that the stories were never ending because people would come, people would go, people would come and never leave. But there were so many fabulous stories to tell at such a high stakes level of existence that even to take those characters now, that some of those characters that the audience now recognize, know, or love, like Boomer or whatever, and then put them in a slightly different environment and see what that kind of spawns, I think is really exciting. I think it's a great idea, actually. I also think there's room for another Wentworth Mark III, Prisoner Mark III.
Well, looking through your recent CV of what you did, one thing jumped out at me that I thought was quite unusual was you'd worked with the Melbourne Symphony Orchestra
Well, that's
as
right, I produced
narrator.
that too. Yes, I worked on a beautiful. Katie Abbott is an Australian composer who's done a trilogy of pieces called Hidden Thoughts, and I worked on the third and final installment of that, Stories of Awe. I'd seen Katie's work. Richard Piper, I don't know if any people know, Richard Piper's a wonderful English-born but Australian performer who played a small role in Wentworth. Hey, lawyer? What was he? And but he did the second one, which was called Return to Sender, and it was based on extraordinary situation in Australia, which has had a rather checkered and regrettable history with its treatment of refugees. And at a particular time in the early 20-teens, they were holding quite a lot of people in Nauru and Manus Island in a kind of limbo. And a wonderful gentleman in Australia here had an idea that if to counter the kind of terrible feeling that these people being held prisoner in these detention facilities, if they could hear from ordinary Australians and just have he encouraged people to write letters, to say, just write a letter, write about anything. You can ask questions or just talk about what your existence is, but just give these people another voice, another view of what Australia is, other than these people who are your incarcerators. And the response was extraordinary. Thousands of people wrote letters. And they sent them all off. And 2 years later, the sack of letters was returned, unopened, with return to sender written on it. So they never received any of these messages, any of this communication. Extraordinary, moving, humane, generous, compassionate, reaching out kind of communication from all these people. And Katie Abbott turned that into a performance piece with the Flinders Quartet and Richard and a mezzo singer, where it was fashioned into a performance piece. Mine was the third one, called Stories of Awe, where Katie had reached out to people everywhere and asked them to write of their own experiences of awe and wonder. I think she was written. It was really beautiful to be able to sit up there. There's two singers, extraordinary vocal artists, really, and me reading the text, and surrounded by the entire cohort of the Melbourne Symphony Orchestra at the concert hall. Beautiful.
That sounds amazing.
Yeah, I love it. I love it so much. It's glorious. If anybody ever gives you an opportunity to sit amongst an orchestra, it's one of the most visceral, overwhelming experiences ever. Just the rumble and the power and the muscularity and the music.
I'm sorry, and forgive my ignorance here, but was it a one-off performance, or was it a...
No, I think we did it. We did it a number of times. We did it 2 or 3 times, I think. Three times. Mm-hmm.
So obviously we've talked about what you've been up to since we last saw you. We've talked about Happy Days and the show you're currently rehearsing for. Have you got your eye on the future? Any other pots boiling away that you're working on?
Other than the project with Kate Atkinson, there's a number of things. I've been talking with Marta Dusseldorp, because she and I are now Taswegians, about collaborating on a project, possibly next year, a theatre project. This is the time when all the theatre companies are starting to put together their 2026 seasons, so lots of conversations happening around that. Nothing I can really talk about now, or this kind of locked in, but I just hope to keep working.
Okay. Well, I can't believe it. I'm very aware that we've only got you for a limited period, and we're sort of coming towards the end of our chat, although I only feel like I've been talking to you for 5 minutes, in all fairness. But whenever I research any of these interviews, obviously my go-to place is the internet. And this time I put your name in, and something I wasn't quite expecting popped up. Don't panic. How scared are you feeling right now? It's not that bad. I think Barry's got an image of something I found, which I was aiming for your CV.
Your dog is hungry, John. Feed the dog.
She is. I can hear it at the door now. Yeah. And I found this. Look. A life-size Pamela Rabe suit cardboard cutout. Now you can't see the price, but for a mere £44.97, you can buy a life-size cardboard cutout of yourself.
I could get that.
How fabulous is that?
At the Sydney Theatre Company. I love the Pamela lip gloss.
I know, the mask lip gloss. But when I saw it, I thought the amount of fun you could have with that, Pamela. I would buy several and hide them around the house just to surprise Roger.
I
go to the garage.
I surprise him enough on my own. I don't need doppelgangers.
If I had one, I would wait till my partner had gone to sleep and just nip into the bathroom and pop it there. And wait until 3 a.m. when he, has that midnight pee.
Yeah, absolutely. Or in the shower. Just in the shower.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. You need to get actually there's 2 options, the 2 of them. There's 2 versions. You need to get both. And I'm sure if you contact them, you'll get them free. They can't charge you, surely.
No.
Oh, well, do you know what? I
thought you were going to say something else, because I think there's because in my earlier stages of my career, I've displayed a fair amount of visible flesh in certain screen projects that I've done. I just keep sometimes, people will say, "I just saw you in, I don't know, something about armpit hair or
Oh, we're talking sirens here, aren't we?
muff size." Yeah. Oh no, everything. Paradise Road. I mean, there was a lot of scandal when I did a
Oh,
movie, Bruce Beresford film called Paradise Road, where we were meant to be prisoners of war, in Malaysia, and of course I did my best bit in, being a method actor and everything. I prepared and had everything, and the the hysterics around the fact that I displayed, some armpit hair. Much discussion about whether it had to be edited out or, it was pre-CGI. They didn't know what they could do. For Christ's sake. Anyway.
well, do you know what? Once we finish this chat in a few minutes, I'm going online. I'm going to buy those. I'm
No.
going to make sure they are on
I thought you
stage
would
with
say
us
something else. No, okay.
in Birmingham and London in August. Marvellous. We are out of time, but thank you so much
Oh,
for giving us some of your time. Well, for you this evening, for me this morning, and I really look forward to seeing you in
can't wait
August
till
here in the UK.
August. Yeah, looking forward to it.
Oh, now do you know what we have just? I'm saying we've just had a question pop up on the bottom here. It would be unfair not to ask this, but how do you decompress every night after doing emotional scenes for a play?
Hello, Ivona. How are you? Look at that lovely face. How do I decompress? Oh, a big vat of wine, usually. But or I just I'm a night person. I just realised I am an absolute night person, so it takes me a really long time. And because my work day, particularly when I'm performing in theatre, is I'm not home till close to midnight. I still feel like I have to have an evening afterwards. So sometimes you know, I'm up till 3:30, things like that. Just doing stuff, cleaning, laundry, watching shows, amazing, amazing shows, things like that.
Well, I will let you get on with your evening now, and we'll see you
Oh, look,
relatively soon
hey, Charlotte.
in Newport. Oh, look, every time I try to conclude, somebody else pops up.
Hey, here we are. Oh, I know you did a play based around nuclear science called The Children. I'm specialised in nuclear medicine. I just didn't know how much research did you do into your characters that you like to play. As much as I can, um, some just to kind of get myself into the world of it. That's a beautiful play called The Children by Lucy Kirkwood, British playwright. Extraordinary play. And oddly enough, the most of the research that I did around that, besides accents, because it's set in Suffolk and things like that, but reading around the Fukushima disaster, which the play itself was kind of not a direct response to, but certainly the events in Chernobyl, the events of Fukushima in Japan, had really brought that whole those themes to the kind of forefront in our conversations, but also the whole notion of the baby boomer generation and the legacy of how we leave the planet for our children and our children's children, and so on. Oddly enough, that the thing that I remember so strongly from working on the Lucy Kirkwood play was I read an extraordinary book called Ghosts of the Tsunami, which is one of the most beautiful, unsettling uh, uh, pieces of non-fiction that I've read in a very, very long time. It still sits with me, and it's an extraordinary piece of writing. But yeah, but also horses for courses, Charlotte. It just depends on what kind of the show it is. If I'm playing a brain surgeon, I'll go and get a degree. Things like that.
Of course. I've just been told that there is one more question, and then we really will wind up.
Okay.
Apparently, have a look.
It's nice to know
There we go.
somebody's there. Oh, hello,
Absolutely.
Patrick. I've still got
Pamela, I recently
acoustics.
watched Paradise Road, great cast, and the wonderful 8-time Oscar nominee Glenn Close. It must have been fun working with her.
It
Question
was.
mark.
It was. Question mark. It was. It was an extraordinary cast. I had a wonderful time working with them all, and it was such a melange of different. I mean, oh God, so many great. Frances McDormand, adore fan, and we have remained. not so much in touch recently, but certainly over the years, I see her, and we have little exchanges and some dear friends. Maybe that was the first time that I worked with Marta Dusseldorp. Susie Porter is in there. Extraordinary Kate Blanchett, Julia Margulies, Elizabeth Spriggs, dear Elizabeth Spriggs from Northern Live, Tessa Humphrey, on and on and on and on. It was an extraordinary cast. It was amazing, and it was a little bit. I went to a co-ed school. I didn't go to a girls' school, and I thought, I think this is probably what girls' schools are like. It was a little cliquey sometimes. But I was playing the kind of the grumpy bitch, surprise, and so I kind of looked around the shadows of things like that, but made some very, very lifelong friends out of that project.
I remember going to the cinema to see Paradise Road when it came out, and I've seen it a few times. It's been on TV, but it must be 20 years since I last saw it. And you've inspired me to go and find it.
In Australia, actually, just this last week too, and I actually caught a little bit of it and thought, actually, I think it's aged well as a film. It's and the kind of the resilience and the spirit that sits at the kind of core of it, and the beauty and that singing and great performances.
Well, I'm glad we did get to squeeze in some questions from the audience.
Yeah, nice,
and if anyone has any more questions, they're going to have an opportunity to ask you in person on stage in London and Birmingham in August this year. So until then,
I'm wearing my spring shirt. I'm wearing my spring shirt for you guys over there on the other side of the equator, and I can't wait to see you in the summer.
Likewise, can't wait to see you here again. Take care.
Nice to see you, John.
You too, Pamela. Bye. Well, thank you very much for joining us this morning or this evening, wherever you are in the world. And don't forget that we have Pamela's event in August, but before then, we also have, there we go, August the 9th in Birmingham and August 10th in London. Go online and get your tickets. But we also have other events coming in April. On April the 26th, we have Danielle Cormack and Kate Jenkinson coming back to the UK to visit us. So please get your tickets for that. And also a slight sidestep from the world of prisons and Wentworth. We also have our special Oz TV event where you can come along and meet 6 of your favourite neighbours, 6 of well-known residents of Ramsay Street in July. So please go online and get lots of tickets, and hopefully see you all there. Thanks very much. Bye.